which is the other principle you want to talk about?
All right. So the one I always like to talk about is called giving the perception of control. And the reason that I like this one is because it costs like nothing to implement, yet it has a hugely material influence on the quality of the experience and people's perceptions around that experience. And the way this one works, again, this is grounded in psychology. We as human beings, we like to have what's called direct behavioral control. We like to have our hands on the steering wheel. We're driving. But the minute that we don't feel like we are in control of what's going on around us, we immediately feel less good about the experience that we're going through. And the challenge, of course, is that in many businesses, you can't give your customer this direct behavioral control. You go to a casual fast food restaurant, you can't make the food yourself. You have to delegate that to someone, behind the counter. If you go to an insurance professional to, buy insurance, you can't underwrite that yourself. You have to delegate that to the insurer to do. And so my point is, in all of these business interactions where your customer has to rely on another party, on you to do something, right then and there, the experience is going to feel less good because they'll feel like I've lost control of what's going on. But the neat thing is, because there's been a lot of research around this, there's a really good proxy for giving people direct control of the experience, and that is giving them the sense, the perception that they have control. And if you give them that, people will immediately feel better about the experience, even if you don't improve the underlying experience at all. That's what's kind of magical about it. And so the two ways that are described in the book to give people the perception of control is to be really good at setting expectations with them, as well as giving them the power of choice. Not too much choice, because we don't want to create the complexity we talked about earlier, but some small choice that makes them feel like they are exerting influence over the experience they're going through. And the study I describe in the book, which I think will help illustrate this point for your listeners, it was something that was done with the American Red Cross. A psychology researcher went to a Red Cross site, and they basically, divided blood donors into two groups. And for the first test, they had, one group of people just go and give blood, but the other group, they actually sat them down and they had them watch a 2-minute video that described in detail what it was going to feel like giving blood, like both the physiological and the psychological feelings that they would encounter as they did this. And then after everybody donated, they interviewed them. And strangely enough, the folks who watched the 2-minute video in advance actually reported feeling less pain giving blood, and they also reported having a better experience doing it. And what the researchers concluded was the difference here. I mean, it was that 2-minute video, but what did the 2-minute video do? Well, it set people's expectations about what they were about to go through. And by virtue of doing that, you're giving people the sense of control, because now I sort of know what's on the horizon. I know what's coming around the corner. And so the experience they went through really didn't, change at all, right? But just by setting that expectation, they feel like they have control. Well, then they repeated the study, and instead of using a 2-minute video in advance, they did this. One group of people, the control group, they just had the blood drawn from their non-dominant arm. The other group, though, the person who was taking the blood, the phlebotomist, they asked the blood donor, which arm do you want me to take blood from? And again, at the end of the day, they interviewed all the people, and the folks who had the choice of which arm to give blood from, again reported feeling less pain and having a better experience giving blood. And this is the power of choice, and you could argue it's not even very meaningful choice. I mean, right arm or left arm, it is still a stranger coming at you with a sharp needle. But merely by exerting that choice, people feel like I have some control over what's going on around me. And so therefore I feel better about the experience as a result. So that's the perception of control. Really powerful principle, and it costs practically nothing to use.